For those Christians that are now reunited with Christ in heaven, what is your perspective on whether or not they can see our daily activities or understand our struggles?
That's speculation. Jesus does say, in what does not appear to be a parable, but it's like a parable, as you know, in Luke 16, where he's got the rich man and Lazarus. The rich man is in Hades and Lazarus is in Abraham's bosom, and he talks about there is a great gulf fixed between the two places. It would seem that the people in heaven don't know what's going on in Hades. And technically, I know it's going to sound weird, but heaven hasn't really been created yet in the sense as to where people are going. When you die now, you're absent from the body, present with the Lord, but your physical body stays in the grave. And heaven and earth are going to be created. New heaven, new earth are going to be created at the end of time, and we're going to have physical bodies. That's going to be our final state, but it won't be the kind of physical bodies we have now. They won't degrade.
That doesn't sound crazy at all, does it? Hey, my friend, I'm Stan Gray. This is TRQ, The Right Questions, where we talk about apologetics, Christianity, deconstruction, atheism, all that good stuff. This is another reaction to a Frank Turek short here, but there is another aspect of this that I want to sort of expand upon, and I'm sure Dr. Turek has talked about this elsewhere, and this is just a small snippet of a larger conversation, but I'm using this as a catalyst to sort of move into a more interesting aspect of this whole heaven idea. So I hope you'll join me for the next few minutes as we explore what heaven might be like according to the Christian perspective. Well, really, according to a former Christian who's now an atheist, looking back on it. That perspective is what we're going to be looking at right now. So let's run it back to the beginning here.
For those Christians that are now reunited with Christ in heaven, what is your perspective on whether or not they can see our daily activities or understand our struggles?
That's speculation. Jesus does say, in what does not appear to be a parable, but it's like a parable, as you know, in Luke 16, where he's got the rich man and Lazarus. The rich man is in Hades and Lazarus is in Abraham's bosom, and he talks about there is a great gulf fixed between the two places. It would seem that the people in heaven don't know what's going on in Hades.
Okay, so let's start there. He said Luke 16. Let's look that up. So I encourage you to go and look this up yourself, or you could pause the video and read what I have on the screen here. But this is a very interesting passage. I haven't looked at it in quite a while. And it seems to portray a place called Hades, which is out of Greek mythology. I mean, with Zeus and Poseidon and all of them. For some reason, Jesus, a member of the Godhead of a different pantheon, is referencing the afterlife, the negative zone of the afterlife, as being that of, a popular Greek tradition, Hades. It's just kind of weird to me. I kind of wonder why Jesus is depicted as having described Hades at all. But in this negative afterlife, it's described that people are aware that, hey, they can see heaven somehow. I mean, even though there was no such thing as heaven at that point, as Dr. Turek later points out, the real heaven in modern Christian vernacular refers to a remade reality where there's a new heaven and new earth that don't currently exist, and you'll have new physical bodies that are perfect and don't degrade or age somehow. And that's what they mean. So when he says that heaven doesn't exist yet, that's what he's talking about. I know this because I am very well aware of Christian thought and Bible study and things like that. I'm not just hopping on here talking nonsense about stuff that I don't know about. Just FYI for those commenters who say, oh, this guy probably never even read the Bible. Anyway, Jesus himself does refer to this negative punishment zone of the afterlife as being a place that people are subjected to fire, and that they're also able to observe the people who are in the good place, with Abraham, who famously was willing to even sacrifice his own son at the command of God. So therefore, of course, he did some other things too. But yeah, he's definitely a great guy and deserves to be in heaven with all the good people. So if this story is indeed a hypothetical, plausible reality that Jesus is describing, there's a lot of implications here. Number one being that people die and go to the bad place, and they are burning, they are in agony, desperate for water, which is kind of messed up for God to situate Hades in such a place where the occupants of Hades can see what they're missing out on all the time, just being teased by what's going on in the better place, or until the new heaven and new earth are created. So that just seems kind of like gratuitous general meanness on the part of God for making the setup like that. Christians like to say, hey, you know, people send themselves to hell. They're getting what they always wanted, and God's not going to force you to be with him, but he will force you to be watching all the people that are in paradise while you're burning and starving to death. That just doesn't line up with the look that they want for God being like, you know, graciously just saying, hey, my child, I'm sending you away from my presence because I know that that is your will and you don't want to be around me. So here, go to this horrible place that I created for you for all eternity and be tormented, and additional insult to injury. You get to watch your loved ones who did believe in me, and you get to see them having a great time. They're not going to remember you, though, by the way. They're going to have no idea what's happening with you, but you're going to be watching them, realizing that they no longer remember you because I wiped their memory, and I don't allow bad feelings in my good place. So therefore, that's the situation that you're going to be in. Of course, because I respect your free will so much. During the first couple months of me having this channel, I created a short message about heavenly lobotomies, just sort of quickly exploring the fact that people who are in heaven are not going to remember that there's several family members and friends missing from their group because they're literally not allowed to think about negative or sad things when they're in heaven. So it makes you wonder, I mean, are these people in heaven who are unable to remember many family members and friends? They're not going to remember the relationships they had with those people. It could be people that they've known their whole lives. Those memories and thoughts are just going to be removed, theoretically, by God. Hence the term heavenly lobotomy. We're not even going to get into the free will implications of existing in a heaven where you're no longer able to feel negative thoughts or think negative things or make bad decisions or be able to sin. I mean, be able to miss people that are no longer there. It could be your mother, your father, your brother, sister, cousins, friends, best friends, roommates. Anybody could fall short of the requirements of getting to heaven, and God will just pluck those memories out of your mind and just reset you into this new drone-like, always happy body. Okay, one more thing to say about this. Christians often assert that, for example, without sadness, there can be no joy. Without captivity, there can be no understanding of freedom, what it means to be free. So in a world in the future, heaven, where all that negative stuff is gone, how will you even be able to appreciate the all 100% good all the time existence that you're going to be in? And would you have the free will to be sad or to be angry or to be lonely or to miss someone? The more I think about that, the more a sense of existential dread kind of creeps over into my consciousness. It's like it's a really strange thing to look forward to, a time where everything's going to be good all the time for trillions and trillions of years. Yeah, that's pretty scary. It only sounds good if you just think about it for like 10 seconds and stop. So anyway, let's go back.
And technically, I know it's going to sound weird, but heaven hasn't really been created yet in the sense as to where people are going. When you die now, you're absent from the body, present with the Lord, but your physical body stays in the grave, and heaven and earth are going to be created. New heaven.
If you're a Christian, please just do me a favor. I'm going to go back. I'm going to take it back a little bit. I want you to pretend he's talking about a different religion, a religion that you don't believe in. Pretend that instead of the Lord, he's saying the spaghetti monster, or the teapot that orbits the sun, or Cthulhu, or Mephisto. Just imagine he's talking about a different God other than the one that you believe in. And please see if you could really comprehend how insane and unreasonable what he's about to say actually sounds from an outside perspective. Someone just pause your belief system for a second, if you can. I know it's hard. I did it enough times to where I never ended up going back. And it's a slippery slope. And if you can't do it, I understand. But at least just try. Just humor me for just a moment. 18 seconds, that's all I ask.
When you die now, you're absent from the body, present with the Lord,
Cthulhu.
but your physical body stays in the grave, and heaven and earth are going to be created. New heaven, new earth are going to be created at the end of time, and we're going to have physical bodies. That's going to be our final state, but it won't be the kind of physical bodies we have now. They won't degrade. Now,
I know that it probably didn't happen. You probably weren't able to pull yourself back from the main character whose eyes you're looking through right now, and just go into third person mode in this game of life and look at that segment as though it was just something from a religion that you've never heard of. If anyone else had said that about a different religion, you would be laughing your butt off at how insane and irrational it sounds. But just think about the fact that because it's your religion, it sounds great. It sounds beautiful. It's something you look forward to, being somehow reconstituted and reformed into a new physical body made of real physical matter that magically doesn't degrade anymore, that won't age. You'll be created at the perfect, ideal, prime age and physical condition, and you'll never be having to deal with soreness, pain, muscle aching. You'll never tire. You'll just be full of energy constantly, which you'll use mostly to praise the giant levitating cube throne room of God that's in the center of the earth, or in the middle of the sky, or however you interpret that bizarre explanation of the giant city full of gold and gemstones that is going to exist at the end of time. Dr. Turek barely touched the surface of how insane and acid trippy that whole idea of the new heaven and new earth actually is. Maybe one day I'll do a video just explaining and experiencing that entire mushroom trip that whoever the writer of Revelation actually was must have been on when he described all that stuff. If you were to really look at that from an outside perspective, I believe you would see how completely insane it sounds. And if you think about it even more deeply, number one, it really doesn't make a whole lot of logical sense. And number two, it's not as appealing as people pretend that it is. There's a lot of problems with that whole setup. One other thing I wanted to comment on was the actual title of this short, Can People in Heaven See What Happens on Earth? So Dr. Turek does explain that according to Jesus's parable/story, whichever way that you want to lean on that, people in heaven cannot see what's happening in Hades, but the question really was, can people see what's happening on earth? And if you think about it, per this kind of heavenly lobotomy theory that I put out there, it would not be possible for them to see what's happening on earth, because a lot of what's happening on earth is sad, negative, it's violent, it's war, it's famine, it's struggle and poverty, and people in heaven are not allowed to experience negative emotions. They are, depending on your perspective, they're either protected from that or they are prevented from experiencing those things. And if you think about it in an outsider, objective, just unbiased context, it really seems dystopian in a way, where everything is curated so that no negativity can enter that realm at all. And people are just going to only experience the purest joy and elation at all times for eternity, which is, if that's your thing, then hey, what can I tell you? I've probably said all I could say about it right now. Can't think of anything else. If I said anything that made your ear twitch, or that made you think about it, or look at it in a different way than you ever have before, drop a like on the video, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And if you agree, disagree, whatever your thoughts may be, let me know down in the comments section below. I always read my comments and reply to as many as I can. And yeah, I look forward to seeing what your thoughts are on my take on this idea. So anyway, I'm Stan Gray. This has been TRQ, The Right Questions. And remember, if you want the truth, you've got to ask the right questions. I'll see you later, my friend. Hope you have a great day.